everyone and welcome back to another Python video. So in the last episode, we covered lists. So this is going to be a very short video explaining tuples. So first, what are tuples? Tuples are basically lists, but they aren't mutable. We learned in the previous video that mutable means that you can change something. But tuples aren't mutable, so that means that you can't change the values inside of the tuple. That also means methods like append, remove, and del won't work on them. Because if you use them on a list, it changes the values inside of it, which can't happen to tuples. However, there is another thing that's different about tuples from lists. Instead of having square brackets around the values, tuples have parentheses around the values, or curved brackets. So you see over here that I'm using curved brackets instead of square brackets, which are used for lists. So now let's move on to more examples of tuples. So I make 3 different tuples over here. So T, or tuple, is an empty tuple, so there's nothing inside of the brackets. And T2 has only one value inside of it, 1. And then T3 has 3 values inside of it, 1, 2, and 3. So that is a tuple with more than one value inside of it. Also, we can check if they are tuples using the type method. So let's try this out in the idle shell and see what happens. So you see that it will be a tuple. And again, it's a tuple. And another time, it's a tuple. So no matter whether the tuples are empty, has only one value inside of it, or has 2 or more values inside of it, it's still a tuple. So we know that we can't change any values inside of a tuple, but we can still do some commands like indexing and slicing, length, min, max, etc. So for this particular example, I make a variable called planets and assign it to Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Basically, all the planets in our solar system, the Milky Way, and then I can print out my variable's name, planets, to see all the values inside of it. Like a list, we can still index particular values of a tuple. So I'm trying indexes 1, 4, 5, and 7. I can also check functions like len, or length, max, and min, and so on. You can also try the sum function, but make sure your function only has integers or floats. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So you see that it's going to output all the values in our tuple. So it's going to output Venus. So you see that it's going to output Jupiter. So it's going to output Saturn. So it's going to output Neptune. So it's going to output 8. So you see that the max is going to be Venus. So you may have thought that the max was going to be Neptune because it's the last value in the list. But in this case, the max is the value that's last in alphabetical order, which is Venus. So you see that it's going to output Earth. So again, you may have thought the min would be Mercury since it's the first value in the tuple, but it's the opposite of max, the value that's first in alphabetical order, which is Earth in this case. So again, you can also try sum, but you have to use a tuple that has integers inside of it because it won't work on strings. So we know that tuples are immutable, change any values inside of it, but let's purposely try to change the values inside of it, and let's see what happens if we do. So at the top, I try to change the value inside of it. I make a variable called famous authors, which is a list variable this time, and assign it to 3 values, Charles Dickens, Roald Dahl, and J.K. Rowling. And you can also see that over here I've written the indexes of each value just to help you. And then I assigned the second index of the list, J.K. Rowling with William Shakespeare. So I want to replace J.K. Rowling with William Shakespeare. And then I print out my variable's name, famous authors, and it results with Charles Dickens, Roald Dahl, and William Shakespeare. But I do the same thing over here, except I declare it as a tuple, and try to replace J.K. Rowling with William Shakespeare in a tuple. And at the bottom, I do the same thing, but instead append or add the value Lewis Carroll, another famous author, to the tuple. So let's see what would happen if we tried these out in the idle shell right now. So if we press enter, you see that it will output with an error before we even type our variable's name out to see the whole tuple. So it says, tuple object does not support item assignment. So that means that we can't add a value onto it because it's a tuple and tuples are immutable, which again means that you can't change any values inside of it. So I don't have to type out the whole tuple again like I did in the slides because I've already typed it out. So you see again, there will be another error without even typing our variable's name out. So it says, tuple object has no attribute append because, again, append, we're trying to change the values inside of a tuple because you're going to add an extra value onto the tuple. But that can't happen because, again, tuples are immutable. You can compare tuples too. So the way this works is that you start comparing corresponding elements of your tuples from left to right. Let's see them by examples. So the first thing you want to do is look at the first tuple. So I've made this easy for you and put only one value inside of it. So you have to compare it using a comparison operator with another value in the other tuple. And then you have to find out which number is the greatest. So 5 is greater than 3, so this must be true. And then we can move on to the next example. So you first compare 5 with 5 is equal to or the same as 5. So you have to move on to the next number on the left. So now you compare 2 and 3. So 3 is greater than 2, but this is saying that 2 is greater than 3. So this statement is false. So now we can move on to the last example. So first you have to compare 5 with 3. 5 is greater than 3, and straight away if you find a difference in the first numbers, then you don't have to move on to the second numbers. So we straight away know that this answer is true. So here are the answers. Here are some questions that you can try to solve. So I want you to pause this video now and then work these out in a piece of paper or on your brain, whatever way, but don't try this out in the idle shell because it will automatically reveal the answer. So now you can pause this video and try to work out these questions. So now I'm going to reveal the answers in the idle shell and explain them to you. So you see that it's going to result in false. So let's compare 9 with 9 first. So 9 is the same as 9, and now we can move on to the next one. So let's compare 22 with 53 now. So 53 is greater than 22, but this statement is saying that 22 is greater than 53, which is false. So you see that it's going to result with false again. So I haven't taught you how to compare with strings yet, but I have taught this method earlier in this episode and in the last episode. So if you look at the first 3 letters of Aaron, and then the first 3 letters of Arav, which is my name, you see that they are the same, but then you look at the 4th letter of Aaron, O, and then the 4th letter of Arav, A. So you see that O comes later than A in the alphabet. So if O is later in the alphabet than A, that means that Aaron is later in the alphabet than Arav. So it results in false. So you see that it's going to be true of C with an E and the first two letters of C with an A at the end. You see that they are the same letters. But if you look at the last letter of S-E-E, you see that it's E. And the last letter of S-E-A is A. So E comes after A in the alphabet. So therefore this statement is true. So you see that it will result in an error or syntax error. So it's not because of the quotes, even if they are red, it's because we're using an assignment operator instead. So you use an assignment operator when you assign a variable to something, but if you want to compare, you use a comparison operator. So the comparison operator for equal to or same as is basically two equal signs or a double equal sign. Let's try using that out now. So you see that it will result in true because we're using two equal signs this time, and also because these strings are the same. So the last slide for today is a shortcut to swap two tuples values with each other. So we make two different tuples over here. One is A, and that's assigned to 1 and 2, and then one is B, and then that's assigned to 3 and 4. And then over here, I type A, B is equal to B and A. So this is basically swapping the values inside the tuple around. So the values in tuple A, which are 1 and 2, will become the values in tuple B, and the values in tuple B, which are 3 and 4, will become the values in tuple A, which are 1 and 2. And then over here, I can print my variables and names out to see the swapped values. So it's going to output 3 and 4, B's original values. Now it's going to output 1 and 2, which are A's original values this time. So it's basically swapped both of these tuples' values around. So that is it for today's Python video. So you can't do as much with tuples as lists, but I just made you this video anyway. So when you want to make a list, but you don't want to change any values inside of it, you can make it a tuple instead by using curved brackets instead of square brackets. So thank you for watching, and I hope this video has helped you, and